Good afternoon, and thank you for making the time for the AISPL and MeritTrac webinar. Our speakers for this session are Mr. Balakrishna Rao, CIO, Manipal Global Education Services Private Limited, and Durga Prasad, Solution Architect, Amazon Internet Services Private Limited. And the topic for today is transforming universities to digital platforms. You can post your questions in the Q&A box throughout the session, and we would respond to the same post the presentations. Over to you, Durga.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Durga Prasad, and I work with Amazon Internet Services Private Limited. So today's topic, I'm going to spend about 20 minutes time, and then I will hand it over to Mr. Bala to talk about the content on that. So this is never a better time, than today, talking about the transformation that universities needed and how it's happened through the digital platforms. So from an Amazon Web Services point of view, for folks who are not aware of Amazon Web Services, I'll just give you a few slides, the background on that, and then we'll quickly go into a few educational use cases of how other universities or colleges are leveraging the cloud and AWS and actually building a solution that are required for either for the campuses or for students or faculty programs or all three combined together. So we'll talk about those as well. Amazon Web Services is actually part of the Amazon, the big parent company, retail the company with the e-commerce portal. Amazon Web Services has millions of customers, active customers monthly, leveraging the cloud in providing services either to the citizens in the government or to the students or faculty programs in education or in other places as well. In India, we have more than 120,000 customers as of last year, April timeframe. This year is going to be, new number is going to come there. So we are focusing exclusively on the education sectors and work closely with the universities and colleges and the K-12 institutions as well. So Amazon Web Services has, if you look at the slide, next one, So this is called the Gartner Magic Quadrant slide, and as you may see, on the right hand side, the white box is called a Magic Quadrant. The right top corner is the latest quadrant. Gartner actually positions based on the maturity of the organization and the reach that they have with the customer base, and then position themselves in this Magic Quadrant. And AWS is positioned as a leader in this quadrant on the cloud infrastructure as a service. It is positioned highest in the execution and farthest in the vision from a leader quadrant. You can see that on the top right corner. Now, as far as the education customers are concerned, there are more than 7,000 customers globally, specifically in the education institutions. So if you look at some of the logos, whether it is from in the Western countries, whether Harvard medical schools, or in the Western Australia University, or it could be Seoul University, or within India we have Gujarat Technical University or Manipal Global Services. So we have n number of customers, whether they are edutech or educational, as higher ed or the K-12, they've been leveraging the services. So these are some of the other examples of in the Indian customers, especially in the government and the education one. So as you see, the Manipal Global is there, Byju's is there, Zeus Learning, Macmillan Education are some of them. In the last year, we have IIT Guwahati, Indian Institute of Science is actually leveraging it for some machine learning in the models that they want to learn, and online tutoring, the Vedantu, Flip Learn. So some of the other universities are using, which are not here at this time, but they are using for multiple business use cases. So sorry, before I move on to the next slide, I just want to call out, if you are having any questions, so keep thinking about the questions, and you can actually post the questions in the online chat window, and the Q&A will be at the end of the presentation. Based on the time permits, we will take the question, myself and Mr. Bala. So I just wanted to call that out before I move to the next slide. All right, so these are some more. We have a program called Educate, AWS Educate program, through which the universities and colleges can actually go through a proper skilling program for their students, but it's more of the university-driven program or college-driven program where the faculties will be trained, and then they will, the students will be granted few credits where they can actually learn and then also practice there. So that's a program that's been started for quite some time, and we have a number of institutions within India and across the globe are actually using them. So this is, I think we've been talking about what is AWS and how the customers are actually leveraging in other places from a public references point of view. But if I just take one step back and then see what is that, really the customers, if I really call the educational institutions or the faculties or students as the customers, what do they actually need? I think we are all talking about this citizens and then this community and the people around us. So I think the disruptive innovation is actually the constantly a basic need that is actually keep changing, where the citizens are actually asking for more and more and better innovations. So if you look at how demonetization helped bringing the new a way of doing the financial transactions, or you're talking about booking the taxis or online Ola, Uber style. So whichever way you look at it, they're actually looking at finding new ways of learning, new ways of building the skill. So it is important for our education institution to think on those lines as well. That which is very, very important. From innovation is the key in keeping that interest levels and making sure that we are meeting the pace of the knowledge that is being available in the society today. The second most important thing is the agility part. I think it is the ability for us to respond to the market needs. I think while we understand that the innovation is important, while we understand that the change is constant thing, how can we respond to those changes? Is it the right time, in right moment, and the right solution is very, very important. I think so. In some of the governments, the way that the concept is being evaluated and then is going to be kicked off is going to take a longer time to kick off. But within education institutions, I think there's a lot more easier for you to say, okay, can I actually quickly test something and then fail fast and then learn from there and then move on to the next one. So I think the speed at which that you can try, will actually give you a lot more scope for you to be able to innovate and be able to give a far better solutions to the closest to the students or the faculties, or increase the reach of that. That's more important. From a capability is also very important from the whole the solution that we want to bring in. So as far as the cloud is concerned, we have more than 100 services on AWS, right from the big data analytics to compute, networking, security, machine learning, artificial intelligence, or mobility. So irrespective of what you want to build from a digital product point of view, you can actually start thinking on that. So you don't have to worry about the heavy lifting of the of your infrastructure to be able to build something for you. You can think of let's say building a learning management platform, or building a student management system, or building a some kind of an analytics that can actually work for your existing computerized data that you have today. You can actually start thinking on those, work towards your business or your goal, rather than worrying about how do I procure this, or how do I actually maintain that existing infrastructure there. So that actually gives you a lot more flexibility on that. Now, the most important thing, of course, is the cost savings. So like the way that you see today, whether how you're paying for your power, your water, or your mobile bill, these are all you pay as you go. You pay for what you use. You don't pay for more. You don't pay for less. I think that's very, very important. So the flexibility in which that if you're starting something that you should not be afraid that if it's not working, will I be able to put in so much money upfront? So you can actually start thinking about, can I just start with small and test and then see if it works out, then we can modify or maybe improvise on it, and then you can expand the reach. And if something is not really workable, maybe you can just take it back and then go it. So you can actually always look at an operational expenditure model, OPEX model, when you're looking, building some solution that is really important in digitizing your content or building something that can increase the engagement of your students, or that can help in imparting that the lecture plans to your faculty program, whichever way it is. So you can always think in those lines. So while you're thinking on those ones, when you're understanding your customers on the agility, innovation, cost, and capability point of view, when you're looking at how you're going to be leveraging the cloud, in adopting it from an education point of view, I'm kind of just calling out as a very few quick ones here. So if you look at from a bottom up, from a definition, I think nowadays everything is called as cloud, but in reality, the National Institute of Standards Technology actually called, what is really a cloud, definition of the cloud. So there are 4 parameters, which is one, you should have the ability for you to be able to procure something on demand and provision it on your own with a self-service model. Whether you want to procure, 100 servers, you should be in a position to procure it on demand, and then when you don't need it in the next 2 days, you should be able to get rid of them. That flexibility should be there. The second one is, when you're building a solution, the solution should be accessible both public or private network. The choice has to be there with you as a customer. The third one is the resource pooling. The resource pooling is also very, very important when you're able to run in a multi-tenant environment, in a large infrastructure one. And elasticity, where, as I said, you can scale up when you require, you can scale down when you don't require. And measure service, you should be able to measure it. So these are the 4 or 5 things which are really critical when you're calling about the cloud. And if what you're using today, if it doesn't provide any of these or all of these together, that means you're not using cloud. That means you have an opportunity for you to be able to improve and then see how we can increase your agility or bring that elasticity into your one, so that you can save a lot of cost. And then the policy point of view, I'm sure you must be aware, the mighty Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology Department already released the policy, the cloud policy out there. It is out there for last 3.5, 4 years. You can look onto those. When you're looking at building your solution and then keeping it on a third-party provider, like a service provider, security and compliance is another most important thing that you need to think through. Whether is my information safe, or is it really secure? So from AWS point of view, we have n number of certifications, more certification than any other cloud service provider, whether it is ISO 27017 for information security, or 27018 for personally identifiable information, and a lot others. So you can check that. Procurement, again, MIT actually has a procurement policy. From skills and culture or the broad adoption, these are the things that you should really start thinking about. How can I build my solution in such a way that that's going to be supportable by the backend infrastructure team with the ease of knowledge, and at the same time, how can this solution can be expanded to my other my target audience? Could be students, could be faculty, could be your own campus administrators. Okay, so just one last one on the AWS. AWS is the first global service provider to be empaneled, is empaneled by the Ministry of Electronics Information Technology body in India, and is audited by the STQC, which means that the government or education institutions or any other regulated environment can start using these services and be able to leverage the benefits that cloud provides and build your own highly reliable and secure solutions for you. All right, so just coming on to so while I just talked about, what cloud computing is going to help a lot of customers, including the education institutions. So this slide is really talking about, the 4 different categories of, how a particular education institution can build a solution. There is no limit here. I've just called out a few of them as to what education institution may need, or an education in general may need. It could be about modernizing the education, or it could be about your business of education, like student management system, ERP, or the other campus management solutions, or it could be about online teaching, or online solutions like learning management systems, content management systems, things like that. Or if in the large universities, there could be some specific departments looking at research and development, like in Institute of Science, or maybe University of Hyderabad, or some of these would certainly require some complex algorithms to be done, and some high performance computing is required for such of them. So you can actually start thinking on those lines as well. So irrespective of what solutions or what you want to digitize, I think you can actually avoid that heavy lifting and focus on what is required for you and what is required for your end goal. I think that's the key important. So what I'm going to talk about is, for the next 4 slides, I'm going to just spend some time on how different customers are actually leveraging AWS and be able to benefit out of it. First, of course, the Manipal Global Education Services, which actually manages the multiple groups within the Manipal umbrella, and they actually have moved 70% of their workloads to the AWS, and the kind of optimization they did into their current websites, they are able to maintain or be able to support up to 200,000 students out there, with a very minimal cost. So I think that's very, very key. As of course Mr. Bala is here on our call, but in his own words, is really, information technology is more agile than ever before and able to match the pace of business. I think that scale will come only when you're actually working with a true cloud provider. There is another university which is called Open University from Australia. So was actually started back in 2012 with one of those ways how they can actually reach to the larger audience, not just within their own 4 walls there. And that's where they started this Open University, and they actually built this massive open online course MOOC site called Open to Study. And with that, they're able to reach to the global audience. And I think they did not have to worry about the underlying infrastructure or the capabilities that the cloud provides, so that they can able to stream the content more effectively, more faster, and with a lesser cost across the globe. I think that's the phenomenal case study from Open University of Australia. There's one more university from a different region altogether, University of Maryland, which is actually looking at a different set of a problem. They've got all these legacy applications lying there and not very flexible, very scattered information out there in every place. So they were actually looking at how can I actually combine these and see, can I just look into a cloud solution. So with Amazon, they've actually moved their existing Oracle workload to the AWS cloud, and they've used the Amazon Redshift which is a data warehouse, for them to be able to build a new analytical platform. So, which is interesting that which kind of gives you a lot, which actually gave the UMUC the almost 20 times the improvement as far as the analytics platform is concerned, and be able to focus on their student outcomes, rather than worrying about the slowness or other downtime issues typically the technology provides in the on-premises situation. This is another interesting case that I would like to call out, which is the Ivy Tech Community College, again from the state of Indiana in US, where they had about 170,000 students out there. Most of them are actually funded by the government. So but there is no way to track as to whether these students are actually being completing the courses or in an effective way or not. So they had this information again, the scattered way, which could be in ERP, it could be in LMS, it could be in some other location, which are not interconnected. So it took in a few months for them to be able to come up with a solution where this structured and unstructured data, they can actually make out something very useful insights with the use of AWS. And very interestingly, they are able to actually identify not just these different patterns in which the students are coming in. They were able to improve the pass percentage, because in the first 2 weeks of the semester, they were able to identify the probability of the student whether he or she is going to fail or not, so that the faculty can engage much early and then intervene and then help that student. So they increased that there. And in addition, they actually were able to find in those financial transactions happening with 170,000 students, they're able to find even some fraud analysis as well to see, okay, hey, there's certain transactions are not really effective. How can I do it? So technology was able to give that thing which is quite impossible for such a small administrative team or campus team sitting out there. This is one last case study that I want to really talk about, which is on the large universities where the high performance computing is really needed. If you look at this here, it's really talking about when I'm talking about high performance computing, like whether genomics or computational chemistry or doing some machine learning algorithms, you require a large amount of CPUs and memory, and a lot of compute is required. And you may require it only for like few months or maybe a few years, and you may not require after that. So the amount of the initial investment, if you have to buy everything, it takes a very, very long and a very, very expensive one. So this is one very cost-effective solution where one of these university, Clemson University, were able to run this modeling with the natural language processing, and they ran with 1.1 million, CPU, the processing capacity. And the interesting thing is the billing for that is just only per second billing. So, and that kind of saved a lot of money for them. So the cost, agility, the breadth of the solution that you want to go, whether it's Open University of Australia, or you want to get more insights like the way Ivy Tech Communities College that got it. So these are all few examples of how cloud can happen. I will not spend much time on this Harvard Business Publishing one, but this is really talking about how they're able to move their data center upgrade cycle instead of that they actually moved on to AWS Cloud, and be able to convert their existing data engineers and administrators and developers into a more agile DevOps engineers for them to be able to deliver it much faster. So again, I'm just touching back on this, where you can actually look at whether it's a recent UGC guidelines or whether in general, if you're thinking about building a solution, whether it's a student labs or which could be about learning management solutions, whichever that you think is really appropriate for your university or college, you can actually start thinking on those lines, and then you will actually be able to find some interesting case studies as to how others are doing it and how you can do it, whether it is a small or big. It is easy to start, and you can easily, the benefits that you're going to get at the end of the day is going to be humongous there. So with that, I'm going to pause. As I said, we'll take the questions a little later, and I would pass on my control to Mr. Bala to take over and continue for the rest of the presentation.
Thanks, Durga. I hope I am audible to all of you. Good afternoon, esteemed participants in this webinar. I am Bala. I work for MeritTrac Services Limited, which is one of the India's largest assessment company. It is part of Manipal Global Education Services. I handle technology for MeritTrac. This is what I'm going to do in the next 30 minutes. I'll just spend a couple of minutes on the key trends in technology, not very specific to education industry, and then I'll cover the big question, why digital is all about. And then I'll move on to education industry, particularly the university environment, and what are the key facets and dimensions of a typical university. Then our point of view on the digital university stack. I have got a set of smart solutions that we have built, and I'll be taking you through a few of those live examples, and I have got a couple of case studies as well. Let's now see what are the key trends in technology. Digital has become a disruptor today. It is kind of not related to any specific industry. The AI is going to be the next buzzword. The future is for AI, machine learning, and so on. So what we are going to see in the future is going to be intelligent systems, intelligent devices. We already know what Amazon Echo can do, etc., etc. So and you also know there are the cloud is moving towards the edge, meaning you will have smart devices, you will have smart products, and you will have smart solutions and things like that in the future. Also, you must have heard about blockchain and so on, and then these technologies are going to really rule the world in the future. So now these are the technology trends. If that is the case, let us see what are the different learning trends. There are various forms of learning. The learning styles are different. The digital learning trends are like today you can have contents which are very immersive. There are chatbots available. Contents are gamified today, and the learners are really demanding. They want mass personalization. There are simulation-based contents. Adaptive learning and adaptive assessments are really catching up in the recent times. These are the different learning trends. Now, what you think the learners of the future? We know the teacher-centric teaching and learning, and which is very formal. Now, things are moving informal. Students and learners learn from communities. They learn through discussions and so on and so forth. Apart from classroom teaching, and there is something called self-directed learning. So students must be able to design their own learning paths. Depending upon their learning curve, it is possible for them to create their own learning paths and then navigate through the learning paths. Social learning is really catching up big time. Personalized learning is extremely important because learning never stops. Today, uh, all industries, all enterprises are going through reskilling. That clearly tells us that people who are working professionals are going through the learning process and things like that. Therefore, it has to be clearly personalized. How this could be made possible today? The AR/VR platforms, the microservices, the cognitive services that are already available on cloud, the voice-based chatbots, the search assistants, etc. Everything is available as a digital platform services sitting on top of digital content, and this is going to be end-to-end experiential learning. This is the profile of a learner in the future. So we must actually be ready to service these types of experiences to the learners. Then let's see why digital. I'll now kind of taper down my discussion specific to education industry. See, our consumers and customers are getting digital. What does it mean? Everybody is having a smartphone, and they spend quite a bit of time in terms of spending their time using smartphones. So therefore, the strategy should be mobile first. The experiences has to be immersive. So it must be chat based. It must be able to process voice, um, images, videos, and things like that. There are VR, AR contents that are available. Social learning is catching up big time. So there is a demanding consumer. In a university relevance, they are going to be our faculty and students. What is happening to the enterprises and businesses? The way we do business has completely changed. Enterprises are creating AI roadmaps. Enterprises are creating strategies around digital. in order that they add exponential value to their consumers. You know the different models of business. We have heard about subscription models, freemium models, shared economy, so on and so forth. Today it is the age of automation. Every single enterprise is thinking about automation. It's an era of automation, and the era of marketplaces. How marketplaces operate today in terms of travel, in terms of stores and things like that. So the way in which the businesses are done in this country, in this world, in a digital world is completely different. So we must actually get ready to meet the consumer requirements. I spoke about technologies. So the artificial intelligence, the machine learning, the newest technologies like blockchain and the deep learning and things like that is going to really impact the way we deliver our services to our end customers. Payment system. This is one remarkable area where paperless transactions are happening. Payment gateways and the digital transactions are happening in terms of in terms of completing the transactions in terms of payment. So above all, government is also pushing big time in terms of digital. So that means to say that it is high time for all universities to think digital and also go digital. What are the let's look at what are the key facets and dimensions of university. All of us know clearly that universities have got their own stakeholders like students, faculty, parents, and various university functions. On the other hand, we have got a set of regulators, we have got statutory bodies, we have government bodies, and universities can have also alliances with other universities, industry partnerships, big alumni network, and so on. So functionally, how can we actually map this into various portfolios? One big thing that happens in any given university is the academic delivery, which is that learn piece. Here, the key stakeholders are faculties and students. There is another portfolio which is very important, is all about engagement. So I'm calling it as interact. Once the learning completes, the very essential for the university to assess the students. So there is a whole bunch of examination, grading, certification, and so on. So while you do all these, universities have to monitor the progress of the students periodically. So that's the monitor piece. Encompassing all of them is the managed education piece, which is very, very critical. So we just made an attempt to actually give a point of view in terms of mapping this in the form of a stack. Let's see what a digital university is all about. Our point of view of a digital university stack is like this. There is one big pillar in any given institution or a university which talks about application processing and enrollment of students. We all receive applications for admission into the university and institution. We have to process their payments. Then once the admission is done, we have to enroll them into various courses and programs, and then we have to manage these programs and courses. This is that one big pillar which is identified as application and registration process. Then the student will get a roll number and he gets into academics and learning. So this is the space of learning management platform, where we have to track their attendances, internal assessment, and we need to have collaboration services between student to student, student to faculty, and so on. And typically in a technology university and IT streams and things like that, there are a number of labs that we need to kind of set up for the students to learn and continue their academic fulfillment. And the third mega pillar is about evaluation and grading. Here there are a number of functions that you need to perform in terms of academic exam calendar, scheduling. You need to have seating arrangements. There will be question paper, content management, and so on. So there are cases where today question papers are distributed across the examination centers online, and you will have a feature called just-in-time printing. You know, number of leakage, question paper leak cases are being, we read day in and day out, so in the newspapers, and therefore, this just-in-time printing becomes an excellent solution for conducting examination. Now today, evaluation is becoming completely digital and online. It means that even if you write a paper pen examination, so the entire answer scripts can be digitized and it can be made available online for the markers and examiners to mark. So that's becoming a big thing, and there are guidelines and circulars coming out of coming from UGC and from government bodies and things like that to move to digital. And finally, we need to actually grade them. Either it is a marking system or a grading system. We have to grade them and publish their results on time. So that's extremely critical. On top of them, naturally in any given university or an institution, there are a number of other campus services like some facility management required, there will be some fleet management required. We have to have student services, functions, and so on. Digital commerce is the one which will cut across all these portfolios. As a student or a prospect gets into the university, he has to pay the tuition fee, and when he stays in the campus, he has to pay a number of other fees, etc., in terms of hostels, food, and so on and so forth. So digital commerce and online payment becomes it has to be embedded into all kinds of functions across these three pillars. Sitting on top of them is the integration layer. We all know that any enterprise or an organization will have a number of legacies, and you may have to really link them up with the external applications. Today we get number of services from cloud service providers in terms of cognitive services, RPA tools, and we may have to be having the capability to integrate with these with those applications and services through APIs, and it is very important that we get the visibility of what's happening in terms of student performance, the learning analytics, and so on. So therefore, reports and dashboards become extremely critical for the leadership of universities. On top of everything is the services layer. Today, it is all about anytime, anywhere, and any device. And on what is interesting to us today is that we see a lot of newer products, smart products coming into the digital university stack, like chatbots. I have certain some smart solutions in the subsequent slides. I'll take you through that, and also edge devices. I was talking about tech trends, cloud coming to the edge. The best example is all about Amazon Echo. There are smart cameras available today. So these are all smart devices available at your disposal to learn. This is the point of view, or this is our this is how we envisage a digital university of tomorrow is going to be. Number of universities are now approaching us, and they are progressively thinking of moving digital, and all these can be actually made subscription based, running on cloud, or it could be hybrid as well. So there are, digital is not about one single technology. This is going to be collection of technology products and solutions. So it is all about stitching these products and technology items into one seamless experience. So that's the idea of digital university, as stated in this particular slide, which is very relevant to all the audience in this particular webinar. Now let me a little bit deep dive into those functional pillars I had shown you earlier in one of the slides. Let me just see or show you what are the different learning capabilities that we have created as part of digital services for the universities. So I'll pick up the learn part first. So one of the smart solution item that we have created is the digital content. So all learners today have to go to a teacher or an expert. So the question in the minds of the learner is that whether the expert himself can come closer to me. So would like to learn from an expert teacher. So what could be done? When we thought about it, and we created with the help of graphics and animation and things like that, bite-sized videos calling experts to our premises, and then these are all very crisp contents which learners can consume very easily. So this uses the concepts of typical blackboard, but using the glass boards. So these contents that you are seeing on your screen are the video contents created using graphics and animation. Digital summary. It's very see, I'm hard pressed for time. Can you make it easy for me? So we are actually very used to kind of writing notes, very crisp contents and things like that in the form of summary cards. We applied the same principle of summary cards here, and you can see very crisp contents which is a consumer or a learner can consume, particularly in the time at the time of examination, etc., to actually take the message of the concept in terms of very crisp content is extremely important. So these summary cards will be useful to the learners. Digital textbooks. I spend a lot of time traveling, would like to use my time to learn on the go. So is it possible to create these books, which I can consume on my smartphone while I'm traveling or while I'm at work? So this is precisely what you see on your screen. So these are all mobile friendly reading materials, and learners can actually hook onto their smartphone and read the contents which are very kind of a distilled version of a textbook. So these are the contents that we have created. Digital labs, these are extremely kind of exciting. So it's really time consuming for all universities and institutions, particularly in technology institutes, to create labs for the students, and then you'll have to support them and things like that. So we have created a programming environment which is not only which will not only help the students to code in the environment provided, it will also make an automatic assessment of the code which is written by the students. So this is the what you see on the screen is the programming environment where students can code as well as get assessed. So this is a powerful tool, and this allows the student actually to code from wherever they are. They need not actually go to a lab and do it. Virtual lab, this is definitely relevant to all of us, and just to give a context here, if some university or some institution wants to create say for example a big data lab or an artificial intelligence lab, it becomes practically not feasible or impossible for us to create such a massive environment on premise. So now there are cloud labs available. People can just use a browser. Students or faculty can use browser and access these virtual labs from the cloud. And as Durga was explaining, the model of business, model of access is extremely simple. This is going to be pay by use, and there is no hassle in terms of creating such a large environment on premise and actually going through the challenge of maintaining them. So that's the key point here. There are most of the new age technologies in terms of machine learning, the deep learning, the artificial intelligence, etc., are available straight away for use from the cloud. So this is going to be the happening thing in the future, particularly in the universities and institutions, technical institutions for sure. Let me now just quickly jump into the engagement pillar, which is interact. There are certain very interesting solution items that we have created. Who do I go to if I got some problem, if I got some queries? So we have created an academic advisor cabin where students can really ask their questions to the experts and the teaching assistants and so on. These academic advisors play a very important role. They will get a dashboard of a student when the question is landing on their table. This will give their learning progress, their participation in the discussion, their performance in the quiz, classroom marks. Everything will be available at the fingertips of an academic advisor, so that the informed decision or counseling can be down to the student. This is really powerful for the student to actually get the assistance from the teaching assistants. Chatbots are becoming quite common. You can see you can get an experience of kind of getting an answer from a physical person, but in the background there is it is a virtual assistant or a bot. You can ask your questions in your own language, bot will understand it and it will try to answer your questions. So there are no people issues. You're getting your services 24/7, and this is really another channel where you can support your students and learners. And if they are really distant from you, this will be a blessing in disguise. Third is the conventional method. So we still have students and learners, or even for that matter, parents calling out with voice lines, email, and things like that. There are ways of answering student queries and learner queries through social media. So this is another way of engaging with the students. Today, engagement is the key. So therefore, we have to provide multiple channels for the students to get the support services from the university. Let me now move on to the examination and evaluation part, which is nothing but the assess pillar. Digital assessments are catching up. How will I get assessed? I've got some knowledge through teaching learning. So now how would I get assessed? There are various ways of conducting assessments. Where the typical ones are quiz, assignments, discussion forums, and things like that. So these are the ways we have created solution items. These are digital services available to the students. Quiz is nothing but multiple choice questions. There are assignments. I like to mention here, assignments are also online and digital, because assignments are uploaded and faculty will evaluate them, and they will give the scores. Discussion methods, caselets, case studies, etc., or other form of evaluating the students. There are solution items already available. Program and these things can be taken on mobile as well. So the screen tells you that whatever I said in terms of quiz, assignment, and discussion can happen on a smartphone as well. Programming environment, talked about digital lab in one of the slides, so this is just a repetition, but what I wanted to highlight here is that the code that a student writes can be automatically online evaluated and scored as well. So that's the feature which we have built in as a smart solution for the digital university projects. Online, all of us know we can conduct examinations online, either multiple choice or multiple options, or it could be descriptive examinations as well, where it's going to be computer based. Most of us are familiar, though still there are paper pen examinations happening, but this learning management platform that we have developed has got the capability to conduct online quizzes and online examinations as well. This would be interesting to many of you in the audience, and we can conduct vivos, etc., online. In a traditional method, the examiner will be having a face-to-face with the students, and there will be scheduling challenges and so on and so forth. So what we have done here in this solution item is that there is a project, and the examiner will ask some 10-15 questions, and it is posted to the student, and student will videograph the responses to all these 10-15 questions, and then send it across or upload it to the site, and the examiner will be able to make a video assessment. So that's precisely what is shown in this particular slide. So very, very typical use case for a project vivos. I talked about digital evaluation, so let me just quickly run you through the on-screen marking solution that we have. If the examination is computer based, then there is no reason to scan and things like that. But if it is still conventional paper pen examination, it is scanned and uploaded, made available online for the markers to mark, and the challenges of skipping the evaluation of certain responses or total mistakes, etc., the tabulation, all these kinds of and there is an automated result processing, etc., comes through as part of the solution. So therefore, a lot of challenges that a traditional method of marking would go away if on-screen marking is adopted in a given in any university, and a lot of progressive universities have now picked up this in the last few years, and universities are moving digital as far as evaluation is also concerned. The monitor piece, very important. We need to know how our students perform, progress, as long as they stay in the university campus or an institution. So digital insights are very interesting. You have the data with you. So now how you will process the data. Today there are a number of tools available. If you can put some kind of a machine learning or an artificial intelligence and things like that, very insightful, actionable reports can be generated, and this will help those teaching assistants or the academic advisor I talked about in the previous slide. Will be able to give very very focused or informed counseling to the students, even to the extent that these are the areas that you need to focus on, these are the contents that you might additionally read, and so on and so forth. And this will be an extremely important tool where I was talking about personalized experience, where all the students will not have the same learning and habits, and it has to be adaptive, it has to be personalized. These types of analytics and dashboards will help the universities, particularly the faculty members, to coach the students very appropriately and specifically. There are some interesting digital nudges that we can make in terms of hey, there is a webinar on an interesting topic, are you interested to kind of attend? So there are some interesting notifications and alerts that you can send, announcements can be made. So this is these have to be periodic, and we have to keep doing it. So these are the engagement items which will keep the university engaged with the students. Digital feedback, all of us are familiar. There is are talking about, students are giving feedback about faculty, and faculties are giving feedback about another faculty, and so on. So with the data available, with the BI warehouse, etc., being available, it is easy to actually represent the data in a insightful manner, and
Mr. Bala, did we lose you?
We've
Yeah, looks like Mr. Bala was talking, but we cannot hear him. Dimple, can you hear him? Or
yes,
I
we've
can,
got Mr. Bala back online. Yes.
I am back. So I was on this slide, I am talking about the management of education in any given institution or university. This is the big piece. As Durga was also mentioning, most of these universities and institutions have got a lot of pointed solutions and disparate systems, and there will be real challenge in terms of managing the students. So student management system talks about registration to graduation. So this is the concept of student lifecycle management system. There are a number of processes. All the education leaders on this call will be able to understand. So right from admission to alumni, there is an integrated and secure platform that we have built and this helps the students, helps the universities to manage the students, and this will also have student accounting system and student, faculty, and campus services. This is again the same solution of student life cycle management, but accessed through tablets and mobile. These are few screens. You can see there is a calendar which is going on the left hand side, and then there are marks published. There are notifications from the universities being consumed by the students. Couple of quick case studies. We have done student life cycle management system in couple of universities. This is an end-to-end secure system, right from, as I told you, registration to graduation. The typical challenges any university or an institution will face is there are multiple legacy systems, data is not consistent, processes are manual, paper-based, there is a delay in results processing and things like that, so manual reports, lack of student experience. So the solution that we proposed is an end-to-end student management system. And what are the benefits university kind of derived? They got a single system and single view of what is happening in the university, including university functions, simple UI UX, experience of student and faculty is excellent. It is available on mobile and mobile ready. All digital services are available for the faculty and students in terms of marking attendance. It could be re-registrations, it could be withdrawal of the program, change of program and whatnot. Completely paperless. Students can apply for bona fide certificates, transfer certificates, etc., etc. Digital commerce, right from tuition fees to any petty payment which can happen, in a given institution or university, can be dealt online, and they can pay from their hometowns as well. Result processing, in this case study has been excellent. They used to take about a week or so to process the results and publish, and this particular solution can finish it in a matter of 7 minutes, and they are right away online. And a lot of workflows, a lot of student feedback, and most importantly, the audit trail. Who has done what in this particular system is audited, so therefore it is available for any future reference for compliance reasons. I'll just take you through that campus case study. What you see on this slide is that major processes I have written in terms of admission, counseling, payments, learning, examination, alumni, and so on. It may not be in that order, and you see that this is a visual representation of what is before. You see a lot of things are happening, brick and mortar, face to face, and so on. So when we kind of intervene with the digital strategy for the university, now this actually has shifted, and the current status is given below. Most of those major processes like admission, counseling, particularly payment, is completely digital and online. Learning, there are still parts going face to face and conventional. Examination also, there are still parts going face to face and conventional, but otherwise almost 80 to 90% of the processes, close to 80% of the processes are completely moving digital. This is a before and after visual that I have put together for a typical campus case study. This is another case study, the last one, where we have done it for a distance learning case, where university actually delivers education through study centers to the students. Again, this is a before situation where the major processes are shown completely manual and face to face, or the traditional paper based methods are being deployed. Now implementing digital solutions, etc. This particular university has transformed, where you can clearly see the admission, counseling, payments. Most of these major processes are looking green, and then they are gone digital. So this is the other case study where university has seen exponential value going digital. In conclusion, let me just spend a minute in saying who we are. I represent, as I told you in the beginning, MeritTrac Services, which is one of the leading assessment company. This is actually part of Manipal Global Education Services, a tech-based company. As I speak, we have delivered as many as 43 million tests in the last 15 years. We service about 400 plus clients. We have got presence in 300 plus cities in this country. We are in the content space, and then we are also having 270 employees, but about 1,000 plus certified test administrators with us, ISO certified, and we deliver tests in the areas in 350 plus areas, and we have got a item is nothing but a question bank of about 200,000. So that's me. Happy to be part of this webinar, and then you can reach out to us. Universities are reaching out to us to actually conduct their evaluate their digital strategies, or we can make a digital discovery of a given institution or university, and then come up with a roadmap, and help the universities to move up in the digital space. So that's about it, and then I conclude, and over to you for question and answers.
Thank you so much, Bala, Mr. Bala. If you don't mind, just pass on the control back to me. So basically, thank you. And so what I'm going to do is there are a few questions posted. So I know it's already on the dot, but please bear with us for 5 more minutes, 5 to 7 minutes more, and let's see if we can address those questions as many as possible. First question, Mr. Bala, I believe you can answer this. Otherwise, I'll step in a little later in case anything I want to add. So you are talking about digital university stack, but ERP is already doing it. So could you elaborate more on what digital university stack really means when in comparison with ERP?
Okay, an ERP is predominantly able to manage the student life cycle, and it can actually automate certain functions of university, right? But a digital university concept itself talks about end-to-end going digital with the multiple technologies. I talked about integrating with virtual labs. If they have a learning management system, so that's not part of ERP. They have to have a learning management system that can seamlessly tie up with virtual labs. I talked about digital evaluation, so that's again part of not part of ERP generally. And then what is most important is giving that dashboard to the university leadership. So there are learner dashboards as well. So learners themselves can see what is their progress, at the end of a session and things like that. So it's all about stitching various functions of a university and giving that seamless experience across to the entire set of stakeholders.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, absolutely. And there's another question. I'm not sure whether I understood this question clearly. It says the Blackboard teacher changes the pace of teaching. Digital teachers cannot do that. I don't know whether it's, I think, incomplete question in my view, but if I have to understand, I think you're trying to say that I think Blackboard teacher changes the pace of the teaching, but digital teachers may not be able to do it. I think here we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
you want to take
all
that?
right. I'll take that. Digital is always a new way of delivering what you want to deliver. It is boundaryless. While there are see, even in digital way of teaching learning, what is exactly attempted is to mimic the conventional methods, traditional methods, and things like that. If you look at a typical example of a learning management system, we create classrooms, we recreate communities, we enable teacher to student interaction, student to student interaction. That's what exactly happens inside a classroom. So that's no different. But what happens in digital is that you can create some smart solutions. Like for example, today in learning, these edge devices are playing a extremely critical role. You don't need to really approach a teacher to answer most of your questions. So there is a bot available which will sit next to you and answer all your questions. Virtual labs. See, one important thing. I'm making one last point. One important thing is that earlier universities used to be for degree and qualification and to an extent skill. Now it is degree, qualifications, multi-skill. So what is expected of a graduated student is multiple skills. So that's the expectation from the industry. So it's so very important for the learner to pick up some additional skills while he's learning in a university. So the digital practices and digital solutions will enable them to do that, which in traditional methods is extremely hard to achieve.
Yeah, and just to add, I think it also complements the digital teaching. I think kind of complements your existing one. It kind of increases the reach. Today, you may be able to reach only a few hundred students, and certainly your university can have a open program, and then if you have a curriculum that is going to be more impactful, I think you have the opportunity to take that curriculum to the remote locations as well, with this technology help. That's what I think.
Yeah.
It depends on how you're leveraging technology for your benefit, if I may.
Yeah.
So the other one, Mr. Bala, I think the question is, what is importance of chatbot? We answer our students' query on WhatsApp in group or separately. Just trying to understand how chatbot is going to complement or maybe work differently. Would like to throw some light on that?
Yeah, uh, it's it's uh, it's the convenience. It's the convenience. It's 24. Of course, if somebody has to reply on a WhatsApp physically, he should be available. He should read and things like that. But this chatbot is a virtual assistant. He's available at all times, round the clock, 24/7, and at your convenience. So this is very effectively used in teaching today. Not only that, these chat is a very powerful medium, right? So because it works on natural language processing, so it's quite unstructured as well, and you can ask your any silly questions as well. So therefore, while in a WhatsApp, the other person, of course, even if it is happening asynchronous, the other person has to answer. But here you will get an instant answer from the chatbot. He's always available.
Yeah, so I think just to add a couple of more points, Mr. Bala, on the same topic is that I think as you mentioned initially, I think the evolution of this technology is increasing. The pace at which these citizens are demanding the new ways of learning and seeking the information is also changing. To catch with that pace, looking at how the same content can be delivered in a more innovative and faster way, so that the engagement is going to be increasing. So I can ask the question, as you said, to my Alexa device or some chat bot saying, okay, can you answer this? You can actually, have the questions, or answers, driven by the chatbot as well, or booking a reservation for your movie or train tickets or, or online assessments, whatever it is. I think you can think about a lot of those possibilities. Thank you. So
Absolutely.
another question, Mr. Bala, is that NPTEL is also providing MOOCs, and how is AWS different? I think I'll take this question. So NPTEL, yes, it's a MOOC one. And there are n number of other MOOCs as well. So we in AWS we don't provide AWS branded MOOC as such. So AWS, as I said, is more of a cloud services platform where you can leverage or host these, the massive online courses or the learning management systems or the student management, whichever technology, the solution that you have, you can host them on AWS in a more true computing way, like the way you pay for your electricity. You can continue to do that in the AWS. And second is, when you don't have to really worry about, if you are expanding it to 100 people, 200 people, there are more flexibilities in which you can do it. So there are a number of different how you can do it. But you can continue to use NPTEL, but you have a choice where you want to host it, whether you want to host it on your own server or on AWS Cloud Platform. I hope that answers the question. Just one question to you, Mr. Bala. I think only one last question to you. Does MeritTrac solutions are part of AWS?
A number of them, yes. So today,
Okay.
I told you it is all about kind of partnerships and things like that. Most enterprises work that way. We have to coexist and move on. So a digital university stack, as I mentioned, is not one single technology. It is a collection of multiple technologies and products. So we may have to stitch all of them together. Some of the services will be readily available from Amazon, and we need to integrate. So the best example is the virtual lab I mentioned to you. So today it's easy for me to integrate my learning management platform straight away with SageMaker, which is a machine learning lab on AWS. So this is how the services can be made available directly on cloud, or partly on premise and partly on cloud. So this hybrid deployment and rendering of services will continue.
Okay. Thank you. There is one more question. I believe it is for me. It is how AWS is supporting integration with existing data. I believe you're referring to the existing data which is on premise, and then how does that integration work? I'll answer the question with that assumption. So you can pretty much build that hybrid architecture. So which means you can start from the scratch. If you don't have anything, you can start from the scratch on the cloud, build your own website, build your own solution, build your own chatbot, build your own machine learning algorithm, or just use simple static website, whichever way you want. Or if you think that you already have your own infrastructure set up in on-premise, some other colo location, and then you wanted some kind of a hybrid environment, you can very well, you can either migrate from here to there, or you can run, as an example, let's say you have a backup that you want to take of your existing infrastructure for ERP. So you can always copy this data from from your on-premise and keep it on the cloud. Or the other way, you can keep your on-premise as the backup location, like a secondary location. Keep your the primary production environment on the cloud and then run it from there. So the choice is there. There are a number of tools where you can actually integrate or replicate between these locations. I hope that answers your question. I think there is another question which is talking about so security and cheating for digital technology will solve some problems, but another side, it introduces other challenges. Okay, so we're talking about the risk of moving to digital technology, in my understanding, but I'll also let Mr. Bala to talk about it, but I'll take the first stab at it. So I think whenever we are introducing a new change comes with a skill to be acquired, and then maturity has to be there, and then come up to the one at every angle, at every side. So the security is actually a part of how you are protecting the data, and how you're classifying the data, and how you're actually providing the data. You should be able to give it to the right people, and you should also be able to make sure that you're actually protecting it from unwanted ones. So that is actually a very something that we'll have to continue to look into. With the cloud computing, there are a number of customers are going to be feel that more secure on the cloud, because there are a lot of additional tools available, while the base structure is actually protected with all these compliances and security that I just talked about, like ISO 27017 and 18. But it also gives you a lot more tools for you to be able to protect your data, whether it's data in transit or at rest. So there is always, yes, there is a learning curve. That is where you have a lot of resources that you can leverage, to be able to see how we can do that. Mr. Bala, I would like to, add any points on this?
Yeah. Any new way of doing things, will have its own set of weaknesses also. But then, while there are smart people who can actually try and break the system, today there are enough and more measures, which whether it is a cloud service or on-premise service, which we can build a layer of security around it. But having said that, certainly the digital way of doing things will have much more security layers, and then things like that from the conventional, because there is a trial that would be available where at least you will be able to figure out what has gone wrong and fix it, and allow that not to repeat. But in traditional ways, it's sometimes very difficult to investigate and figure out what has gone wrong where. So to that extent, you will have a visibility. There are a number of such audits that you can keep, or gates that you can create, to secure your process, secure your data, and secure your operations. So in comparison, certainly digital will have better ways and means and mechanisms to control these exposures and things like that, compared to the traditional manual methods.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Bala, for your time on this. And Dimple, we are done with the Q&A. So if you have anything, can you close this?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Bala. Thank you, Durga, for your time.
And thanks everyone for joining the call, and really appreciate your interest on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.